1899, a lady in Illinois, US, named Jane Addams started a movement called Hull House. And what was this Hull House was that was a place, one of the earliest place where people used to come and they have shelter. Homeless people, poor people who are looking for shelter, they can go to this house. Jane Addams created this idea with some of his colleagues. And eventually in Illinois, this movement started a movement of social work in US. She was eventually nominated for a Nobel Prize. But what was the idea Jane Addams came with? The idea to have a place which can help people. Toastmaster of the day, dear Toastmasters and distinguished guests. Today, my subject, I would like to talk about this movement which was created in 1899. Academically, yes, 1899, Jane Addams started it. But the religious communities around the world, this movement is going on from such a long time. In the Muslim world, you will see that, when Islam started, there was the first thing that, we need to help the homeless. Christianity movement, one of the biggest ethical movement was to help people who are suffering, and we all have to help. But there is a very interesting dynamic to it. When I study the data of last 2000 years, or let's say if I ask Google or ChatGPT to help me for that data, what I found that in last 100 years, the social work and civil organizations in the globally, it started a movement which has taken 2 billion volunteers of the world working on volunteerism for a change. 2 billion people. If 2 billion people can start a country, it will become like a country of Pakistan. Such a volume of volunteers who are just working and helping people globally. Now, why this movement was so important in 1899, and it created a global revolution. People wanted to help. People have money and people wanted to help because there is inequality in the society. People are rich, but they want that satisfaction or a purpose of their life. So the basic part of this revolution was that human understanding of suffering. And the volunteers globally started to feel that if we have extra, we can serve. But that's not something which I want to reflect right now. When I go into that data, I ask that what are the 5 key areas people are working in this civil organization? What was the first data told me that 50 to 55% of the volunteers are working on social work, which work with the poor people for just helping the neighbors, giving food, shelter, giving clothes. Now, this is 50 to 55% of 2 billion people are working. What other social work is going on? To my surprise, I see the second number was education. 15% of these volunteers are working on education. The third was health, the fourth was climate change, and the climate change started last 20 years. 8% of these volunteers are working on climate change. I was thinking, this is a global change movement. Helping people with food and resources, 50 to 55%, and education, just 15%. And we see the disparity of this data when we looked at certain amount of data around globally, Asia, Africa, we see poverty because of lack of education. Why the volunteers are working so much on the food and resources, but not on education, not on building schools, not to have teachers, community teachers who can go to these villages and in these poor neighborhoods and talk about education. I feel there is something wrong here. People like to help, but the helping style was just giving them food is making them more dependable, not independent. Jane Addams created that movement for social movement in Illinois. Yes, she wanted to create a shelter house for the homeless, but she also gave them certain kind of skills so these people can work. Certain education, some educational skills, so they can work and next time they don't have to come to this shelter house. Ask any religious community, the basic principle of health is not to give them fish, but how to catch the fish. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to ask you all to just to reflect. We are helping. We all are, Alhamdulillah, Muslims. I'm just mindful for that if some certain are not. But if we are all are Muslims in Ramadan, we are helping because our religion tells us to do. We are doing charity. But I want you to go back and reflect on this. Resources or give them a certain amount of skills and education so they can own their own resources. I want to take this message home, at least at my side. Today, I will make a difference. So I'm sure that certainly I will make a difference in one person's life, which I will help today, probably in education. Over to you, Toastmaster of the Day.